So this is going to be the official what I've done to this car since Super Bowl Sunday. I made a list because it's too much to try and remember, so here we go. Started it on the 12th, February 12th, 2023. That was Super Bowl Sunday, and today is July 3rd. So it's been almost 5 months now, and the car is running and driving and making power. It's been tuned up to about 12.5 PSI, and it scoots. It scoots. It's a salvage title car. So this car was, the whole front end was crushed. Somebody rebuilt it, and me and my ex-wife bought it back in 2007. And I bought it for her for Mother's Day. We ended up getting separated, and she took the car with her because it was her car. But she decided over the course of owning it 10 years after we split up that she just couldn't put the money into it and didn't have the required knowledge to do what needed to be done that she wanted to be done. So I offered to buy it back. So I bought it back from her, but I told her that if I did, that I would LS swap it. So I bought it back Saturday, the day before the Super Bowl, and I drove it home, and then immediately just ripped it apart the next day. Pulled the engine, transmission, rear ends, pulled everything out of it. So I could start putting the LS stuff in. So most of you guys know me because I had the black Z31, Satan Z31. It was pretty much a race car, full cage, uncomfortable, loud side exit exhaust, and I didn't want that anymore. I wanted a street car this time. So no cage. It's got factory interior. It's actually pretty nice interior, so happy about that. But that's what I wanted, a street car. So what did we do to it? We did an aluminum 5.3, and it's unopened. I say unopened, the factory bottom end is still untouched, and you guys can call it stock bottom end or not, or say it isn't. I don't care. Here's what's done. The bottom end, the pistons haven't been touched or pulled out, the rods haven't been pulled out, the crank hasn't been pulled out, bearings haven't been looked at. I put a camshaft in it. It's a sloppy stage 2 camshaft, or the Elgin 18, I can't remember the part number, but it's basically the SS2 cam is what they call it. And I'm still running the factory DOD oil pump, the displacement on demand oil pump, and it does pretty good. It keeps oil pressure pretty in check, so that makes me happy. What else? What do we got? So the lifters. I cheaped out on the lifters and tried to run some old LS7 lifters that I had, and one of them gave up the ghost on this side, so I immediately had to pull off the head and replace lifters right after I got it going. So I put some Melling, I think there's 7717 lifters in there, and they've been doing good since then. So it's got 243 heads with BTR 660-inch lift springs. I already talked about the SS2 cam. It's got 3/8 chromoly push rods that are from Borowski Racing. They're actually pretty expensive. They're overkill, but they're double tapered. Let's see. Oh, the intake manifold. Intake manifold is a cheap Pro Comp or Typhoon intake, whatever you want to call it. They're cheap aluminum intakes. I don't like the bottom of them because they have a steel plate that bolts to the bottom, so I usually add more bolts and silicone them to hold them in place. But they flow well. They flow slightly better than a stock LS6 intake, which is one of the best factory intakes that you can get for cathedral ports. Where are we at? So intake, turbo. We got a VS Racing turbo, an 80 millimeter on the compressor, 82 millimeter on the hot side, and it'll probably do about 800, 850, an honest 800, 850, and that's about where I'll stop. And that might just be for numbers. I might drive it around at 700 because that's plenty for the street. What else? 3-inch piping. All the intercooler piping is 3-inch piping, and I run a Summit blow-off valve, Summit wastegate, with a 2.5-inch dump. That's more than what I need, but it works. The intercooler piping goes right there past the radiator, and then comes past the radiator here and back in and up to the intake. Works pretty well. The intercooler is the standard 12 by 24 4-inch thick intercooler. I cut the end tanks off of it, or not the end tanks, the in and outs off of it, and then re-welded my own, and you can see it fits pretty well, and the piping does quite well in there, so it works out pretty good. I dig it. What else do we got? Let's see. 25-inch wide radiator, 3-inch thick, 16-inch tall, and I run the Silverado, like a 2017, I think, Silverado brushless fan, and Holley controls that. So I run a Holley Dominator, which I didn't talk about, need to talk about that. Holley Dominator, or excuse me, not Dominator. Dominator's in that guy. Terminator is in this guy, but you can control the Silverado brushless fan with pulse width modulation, setting it up in the Terminator, which is pretty cool. That thing rocks. That's a good fan. Where else are we at? Let's see. Oh, truck manifolds. I just run your basic iron truck manifolds. I modified them to run. Oh, come on, focus. You can't see it. There's V-bands on there, but I run them with V-bands and 2-inch piping. A lot of people say 2-inch piping is way too small, but this is a 5.3 motor. 2-inch piping is fine. I'm doing it. It's been done. It's fine. It's great. I know somebody personally who's made over 1,000 horsepower on 2-inch piping, so I don't want to hear it. Let's see, 3.5-inch turbo back exhaust. That was fun. So it runs back down through there and all the way out back. I actually just finished it the other day, and it runs all the way back to my MagnaFlow muffler, and it's actually quieter than I thought it was going to be, so that's cool considering it's a street car. I run a Greddy Profec B boost controller, so just that little boost controller right there, but I have it control a Mac 4-port valve, and a Mac 4-port allows you to run lower spring pressure in your gate and pretty much triple or quadruple your spring pressure, so you don't have to run like a 15-pound spring trying to get like 30 pounds of boost. You can run a 5-pound spring or a 10-pound spring and easily get 30 pounds of boost. So 4-ports are the way to go, but they're really touchy. They're touchy on the gain, or not the gain, but the duty cycle. If you just blip the duty cycle a little bit, it can make a big jump, so you got to be careful with that. Transmission is a 2000, I wrote T55, that's funny. It's a T56 out of an F body, a 2000 Camaro or Firebird, I don't know which one it came out of, but puts the shifter right there, so that works pretty well. I run a spec, I think it's stage 5, I don't know what the stage is. It's their highest torque capacity single disc, and it's an iron disc, and this thing squeals. And Cameron, Pucker Factory, he runs one in his Z, and I asked him, I was like, does this thing ever get any better? And he said, no, it doesn't, it always squeals. I was like, God damn it. So I got that, but it holds the power, so I guess beggars can't be choosers if you're trying to be cheap. Rear end, S13 rear end. I run max speeding rod coilovers and ISR arms all the way around. The max speeding rod coilovers are obviously like dirt cheap, but I just wanted to get this thing on the ground. So that's my setup there. Yep. And it's a 350Z viscous limited slip differential and the whole Q45 Z32 arms, and then or not arms, but the CV shafts that you got to run. And yeah, it's there's a whole bunch of information on which route you need to go with that. I'm not going into that on this video. This video is already long enough. What else? Oh, Versa steering. So I run the electric steering. I don't run hydraulic power steering in this because I don't know, I tried it and I like it. So a lot of people don't like it, but I don't have to have a power steering pump in here and it works great. So some people don't like the way it feels. I do. So there's that. Let's see, where were we? Oh, calipers, brakes. So I run Z32 calipers with 350Z track rotors. Come on, zoom in. And you can see it doesn't use all of the rotor, but that's okay. They work great. I run Hawk HP Plus pads and they work fantastic. So I don't have any complaints with that. So what do we got? So, oh, the suspension springs are the old school 3ZR springs with Takiko 5-way adjustable shocks. That's an old Z thing. Everyone runs coilovers now. I'll probably do coilovers up front, but I'm not hacking up these strut tubes or I'm not modifying these for max speeding rod coilovers. Like, I'll do some good coilovers if I'm going to cut these up. What do we got? Oh, catch can. I still have to make a catch can because right now it's just blowing straight into the engine bay. But this engine's healthy, so there's no blow by. It's not making a mess yet. So still got to do that. Let's see, tires. I've got Federal 595s, 275 35 18s out back, and these things, they're stickier than I thought they were going to be. I figured I'd spin these pretty easy, but they hold. The fronts are R888Rs, R888Rs, and they are 245 4017s, and the wheels are CP27s. Everyone asks me about the wheels. Some people don't like them. I like the way they look. They're 18s in the back, 17s in the front. Had to keep the gold because it's an Anniversary Edition Z, obviously, so gold is good. But that's pretty much the deal. Got my Brian Earl Spillner plate there, of course. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video to give everyone a rundown of what's been done to this car. So that's the gist of it. And I guess if you have any questions, you can ask in the comments. I haven't dynoed it yet. I don't know if I will dyno it. I just tune it to what it needs to be tuned to, and it makes whatever it makes. So I've got a pretty good guess at what power is what, considering that thing dynos over 1300 and it runs 7s in the quarter mile. So I've got some experience when it comes to knowing power numbers. Yeah, like I said, if you've got any questions, ask them in the comments.